good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Max at the RHMax channel. And today it's going to be a great one. I have a feeling we've got AWildSJ on here to talk about Scivive, HEX, PulseChain, everything going on in this community. Yeah, feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Took a run this morning. It's timidly raining, but I like to, I think when you run in the rain, for example, it lets you connect with a little bit and help you realize that there's more to life than just being inside on a computer. It's great to connect that way. So yeah, and happy Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. We got Sloth in the chat. Thanks for the comments on the intro. That took way much more time than I thought it would. And it's been refined a few times, so appreciate that. We got mixed crypto arts in here. And hopefully some more folks will be joining us because, SJ has been working on Fix the World for a while. I can't wait till the reading of it. I'm sure there'll be a Scivive Sunday or something where she does the reading and also the audio version because I haven't fully. I don't know actually if there is an audio version of it yet, but we'll ask her about that. So without further ado, let's bring her in. Welcome, AWildSJ.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Max.
Yeah, no, it's you had me on your show a couple weeks ago or so. Had a great time talking about, health, wisdom, Scivive. Of course, I always got to get the ball in there until everyone knows who he is and has read their stuff or read his stuff. But yeah, of course, Richard Hard's always the star of the show, and looking forward to getting into it with you. But in case there's anyone who doesn't know too much about you, I find it hard to believe. Yeah, you want to give an intro for who you are, what you've been doing, and how you found crypto, how you found Richard, how you found Scivive.
Oh, sure. Okay, so let's see. Once upon a time, I actually, because I kept saying that I thought that I bought in at first in July, but that's not true. I found out that my first time buying Hex was May. So I'm coming up on my 1 year Hexiversary pretty soon, like in 10 days. Before that, I had a very limited knowledge of crypto. In fact, I was also trying to find this information for this interview because I was like, I knew you were asking about my origins with crypto. And it looks like from when I was reading through my emails, I started a Binance account back in like December of 2017. And that was the first time that I did anything within the crypto realm. And I believe I just purchased a fraction of a Bitcoin. I had heard, I definitely had known about it for a while. I like telling the story that I had a boyfriend that bought drugs with Bitcoin back in it had to have been 2011, 2012, something like that, really, really early on. So I knew about it. I was in the tech world and, I had heard about it. But I basically I did the Binance thing. I bought a little fraction of a Bitcoin and then just did nothing with it. A few months later, I was in Puerto Rico and my good friend who I met through the drum and bass scene out here in Austin, we would go to the same shows together and dance. Community knows him as Crypto Kool-Aid. He he caught on that I had bought some Bitcoin and was like, hey, I know you're interested in crypto. Let me tell you a few things. And I actually kind of went back. I went way back through the chats because I was just trying to figure out what did I do back then? And I bought Cardano. So I traded some Bitcoin for Cardano.
Richard's favorite.
I think I probably put some money in a few other little things too. And then because I was just living this island life and not really thinking about finances too much, I just let it sit. I didn't touch it. I didn't look at it. I didn't do anything with any of these coins for the next, 4 years. So it just sat there. I may have made a shit ton of money and then lost a bunch and not even known it. And I was fine with that. So eventually in around this time, a little earlier than March of last year, gosh, it feels like so much longer than that. I was selling my home for totally unrelated reasons. I wanted to pay off my student loan debt. I was tired of I wasn't living in it. It was a rental property for me. So it was just, I was tired of the upkeep and didn't really want to do that.
Mm,
So I started researching finance because I knew I was going to have some capital. And after paying off my student loans and my debts, I wanted to be really wise about where I was putting my money. And I wanted to make sure that I would be set for my future.
mm,
So I looked into opening a Roth IRA. I looked into a high yield savings account. I looked into options trading. And through all that, I think Kool-Aid had started to kind of be like, hey, you wanna put some money over here? Hey, there's this thing going on over here.
mm,
So I started paying attention and listening, and I was like, okay, like I definitely am not opposed to crypto. Obviously, like I had some. He was basically like, take all the money that you put in all those little coins and put that into Hex. So I did that. And that's probably what I did in May. That was my first buy, was the trade. Yeah. I took what I had, the little, that I had at that time, and I traded all that for Hex in May. And then as I learned, because he's Kool-Aid's, good friend of mine. I trust him, but I love that he was just like, hey, don't listen to me. You know me, we're friends. You need to listen to the people in the community. So he turned me on
mm.
to Whales Only One and Crypto Coffee. And I started
Shout
listening
out
to
to
their
Wells.
streams. Oh, big shout out to Whales. I mean, he was super instrumental. I'd like to say that Kool-Aid gave me the pill, and Whales Only was the one that, I was like, all right, I'm swallowing this now. Like, okay, I've
Mm,
taken the pill. Like I'm on this path now. So that is where I got into Hex. I didn't
mm.
have any clue about Richard Hart. I had never heard of the guy. I even most of that, I mean, for that 6 months after investing, I just listened to Whales Only for the most part. I went back and like went through his old streams and listened to as much as I could. And eventually, I think I started to see Richard's unboxing videos, and I was like, who's this guy? And I upon seeing that, I wanted to know more because I had, and as many people who are no coiners or don't really know about crypto come into this, they'll Google Richard Hart and those shitty
Mm.
articles will come up, and they'll just be
It
like, this
used
guy's
to.
a
It's
scam
gotten a lot
artist.
better. It's
I'm
gotten
glad
a
I
lot
haven't done it
better.
in a minute, so that's good to hear,
Mm,
because it was just, I was like, well, what's up with this dude? Like, I trust Kool-Aid, I trust Whales Only and what he's saying. Do I trust Richard Hart? So I started to dig in and I wanted to know more about him. And that's how eventually I found Scivive. I can't recall exactly what path led me to Scivive, but I found
mm.
it and I was like, okay, here's a book that this man has written. Apparently it's got all his beliefs. And I guess that's something that I should know if I'm going to promote and, be a part of this community. I want to know really who he is and, who is this man behind these things that I'm investing in.
Were,
So I
were
started.
you a reader before then, or a cat? I just always see these people who get into Hex, they get into Pulse, but then they don't really. You mentioned Sci-Fi, you mentioned books, you mentioned reading, and they're just like, maybe later. I
Oh
think.
no,
Do you think you got
I'm
to
a
be
reader.
like a different kind of person to like really get into to get to know the person through their books and get to know their ideals that way?
Perhaps. Yeah. I think that takes a certain mindset to want to dig that deep and to spend that much time really getting to know a person, and
Mm-hmm.
getting to know their ideals and their values. So it's something I wish more people would do, for sure. I mean, I get these comments sometimes, about people who think how pretentious or whatever Richard is, and I'm like, you obviously don't know. Like, you have not read the book that
Yeah.
lays out everything that he really is about, and who he is. So
But even with his book, I think it's a little special where when you start reading it, you got to be, I hate to say the cliche of like you got to be ready, but it's one of those things where if you don't have an open mind, if you aren't open to having dialogue and having new ideas in your life, I have all kinds of friends that if I try to talk to them about wealth, wisdom, happiness, this type of stuff, that's kind of like cerebral, deep knowledge, like learning, bettering yourself. They act like you must be a broken person or something to get into it.
mm,
No, I don't think. I think there definitely are people who are seeking help because they have all this trauma or whatever going on in their lives, and that happens to everybody. But I think there's a lot of people who just want to learn. They just want to consume. They want to get better regardless of their state in life. So even if you gave someone Scivive and you're like, hey, if you read this, it will change your life. They'd just be like, scam, you know, or they'd be like, oh, I don't have time. Or, you know, you got to be ready to consume that type of stuff. And so I think, you know, your story getting into it is special because there's probably 100 other people or 1,000 other people who have been introduced to Scivive and just never looked at it again. But you, you know, and, you know, of course, all the people in the Scivive group and things like that, they got into it. It meant something to them. It spoke to them. And I think that's pretty special, but it seems rare. I didn't know how rare it was until I started talking to people about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely was already in that mindset. I had been reading, there's, and I know this was a question you wanted to ask later, but there was a book called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And she also wrote a book called You Are a Badass at Making Money. So I had previously read the first book, and then around the time that all of this going on with my house selling and, you know, having this income and knowing that I needed to do something with it, I was reading that. I went into Think and Grow Rich. I was reading that at the time. So I was already kind of like on that mental path of, you know, not just bettering myself in my spirit and body and mind, but financially as well. That was a huge thing for me. So I thought, you know, well, if this guy, you know, can add any more to that, then obviously, like, I want to learn, I want to know. And I was traveling and I love audiobooks. So I was looking for the audiobook of Scivive, found on YouTube the HEX version of it, and, you know, started listening to that. And then it was just like, it's so hard. So hard to listen, because I think more than other books, it's difficult to listen to this one because it's his voice. Because he, like, I hear him when I'm speaking it, I'm trying to inflect, you know, I'm not him, obviously. Like, I'm not going to sound like him or pretend I can sound like him, but I try
not
to
gonna go
inflect.
Theranos on us.
That's right. Yeah.
Steve Jobs and
no.
what's her name? I forget her name. Theranos woman. Shoot, they just had the trial. Anyway, sorry, that reminded me of that where she tried to, you know, sound like Steve Jobs.
That's funny.
Turtleneck and all. Yeah. But
yeah,
sorry.
so no, it's all good. Yeah, it's just the point was, like, you know, I wanted it to have more feeling, and, you know, I wanted it to be brought to life because it's such life-changing advice. I was like, I need this to be, you know, better. So it was a selfish thing. I was just like, I just want to hear it in a better voice, and maybe someone else will like it too.
That's a win-win. I think things like that, there are selfish things you can do that, you know, you do them and then people appreciate them and they create more value. And even though they come from a selfish place, you know, Richard wants glory, right? Like that's extremely selfish, but it's okay because he is creating value through that motivation. So it doesn't matter if you do it for yourself. So you should do a lot of things for yourself in the first place because you are you. There's only one you got to take care of yourself. But if what you do also creates value for other people, it's a win-win. So, you know, what you're doing with Scivive, your motivation being, I want to hear it. You know, I want to hear it in a good voice. I want to get into it. I want to learn more about it. And then, hey, other people probably do too. You know, there's not a, you know, a red version out there. I will say it's a good robot voice. I mean, I've heard much worse robot voices. I got through it. It wasn't the best, but I was like, I want to know this, so I have to get through it. But yeah, hearing someone read it who has a good voice and who puts power into it and really wants to channel the energy for it, I mean, that's a win-win for everybody. So it's okay to be selfish in that way, for sure.
Nice.
So yeah, just want to mention everyone, please share the link. You know, the usual, subscribe, whatever. If you want to pound the like button, pound whatever you want. Just yeah, let's get more people on the stream. I think we can spread the knowledge. We can get SJ, make it worth her time to come on here and talk to everyone. So yeah, please keep the comments coming. Please keep sharing the link out. Hopefully Hex streamers, I pinged them. They got me on the list now.
Nice. So
hopefully they posted it. And I saw there was another, what was that? Did you retweet that or somebody did about there's a Pulse streamers website now
What is it?
that like
Oh,
shows
Pulse
video
streamers.
links. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's a new one. Yeah, I can't
Huh.
remember the link, but yeah, that was floating around Twitter this morning. So there's like another. There's not just Hex streamers now. There's like Pulse streamers. So the more, yeah, more community sites showing people who are doing live, going live, and having videos and stuff. It's good.
Awesome.
So what are you most excited about this year? As far as, you know, of course, you could always say Pulse, you know, Hex going into Pulse. You could say all these different things, but what are there community projects? Are there, you know, is it Hex's evolution becoming something that's more mainstream? You know, what is it exactly this year that you're looking forward to?
Ooh. Wow. There's so much to look forward to. Well, and I'm gonna be on the less technical end of that because I'm gonna hold. I am all day just gonna hold things. I am not a trader. Um, Even though I did take that options trading class, I didn't finish it because I was like, oh wait, Hex is much better. Why would I put my time and energy into this thing? So just seeing Hex become more viral is going to be something huge. Pulse chain launch, I'm super excited for that. I think within the community, something I'm really looking forward to is learning more through guys like Kinetics, RG3, Whales Only One. I know that they're all working on various different, what's the word? I don't know if projects is the right word, but really what I want to learn more about for myself this year, and I know that more knowledge about this is going to come out, is how to make sure that I am investing, like if I have a 401k, if I have this Roth, like how to invest that into Hex, and then really just digging deeper for my own personal like security of my wealth. There's just
Mm,
learning more about the tax repercussions and things like that. And I know that there are people within the community working to ensure that we can keep our wealth and that our generational wealth isn't touched, and that and going into politics. I mean, that's really an amazing thing. You know, a lot of times people are like, "Oh no, let's not mess with that. Let's not touch that." But
mm,
Hex is something that, you know, now that we're set for the next 15 years in terms of our finances, we want to ensure that that can continue to grow and continue to be something that we are able to, you know, gain the yield on and is not highly taxed. So we're looking to get more people into office or find those people that are in office that are pro crypto. And I think that's
mm,
huge as well. And then personally for myself, I definitely want to bring up the crypto fitness challenge. I think that Jim Rat and Sam, what they're doing within this community is just brilliant. I love that we are so involved with health on so many levels. I mean, from Maddie Allen and psychology, and you know, making sure that you're not suffering from sudden wealth syndrome, to our physical with Jim Rat and Sam, and doing this fitness challenge. And I have, for the last few years, I have really struggled to maintain a routine. It's hard. Routines in general are very difficult for me. So
mm,
being with a group of people and knowing that I'm, you know, we're doing this 90-day thing together, it takes, they say it takes 21 days to form a habit. So I'm looking forward
mm,
to the next 21 days and then another 21 days. And then, you know, as we're going through the fitness challenge of being more physical. And for me, it's more about strength. As I'm getting into my middle age and later years, I want to be strong and I want to be able to continue to do the things that I love doing, and, you know, going on hikes and bike riding, and just, you know, even just simple things like it's important to me that my health is maintained because, you know, why else am I staking for 15 years, you know, if I don't think I'm going to be around that long. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
health gives you time, and time is the most valuable resource. So you got to invest in your health. I mean, that's comes back to longevity and all the research going on there. I think, yeah, if you ask me for the next 5 or 10, 20 years, what I think a lot of us are excited about is the medical research, how it's going
Hmm.
to be funded. It's, you know, more than likely, yeah, there will be a heart foundation of some sort where it's going to advance a lot of this stuff. And I think that's the thing that most people underestimate about Richard's about what he's doing, and why the community is so excited to promote such a founder such as him is he is taking all these things and just making every year in your life exciting in some way. Hey, we got Pulse. Hey, we got the MetaMask token or the wallet token coming out. Hey, we got Pulse launches coming up. Politics, as you mentioned, longevity research is going to be super well funded. I love the way that I think and Peter Thiel was mentioned in Scivive as well, which I didn't even realize till I was doing the roundup on the blog the other day. But yeah, he actually talks about Peter Thiel and how he says, what are people not investing in that they should be? Like what is the most underfunded thing out there, such as medical research? Like people can't buy into it because they just can't get over dying. They just can't get over that it's natural, that it's always happened, it's always going to happen. You might as well just accept it and not think about it until it's too late. And I really like that he is on the same page, because Peter Thiel is another person I look up to, and I read and watch everything he does. And the Roth IRA, circling back to what you talked about there, yeah, he's like the king. He's been known as the king of Roth IRAs now. That's another good point. He's not only investing in some of this innovative stuff, but also very smart with money. So I think longevity, oh my gosh, I think why not? Like if you're going to have goals in life, why not make them big? And why not believe in somebody who is putting their money where their mouth is, or will be? He's in it for glory, not in it for money. All he does is talk about longevity. He said it a million times. Like this guy's literally going to help you live longer, happier lives. Like it's so many mic drop moments in the Richard Hart conversations.
Yeah, and something I had never even thought about, longevity. It was not on my radar in any way, shape, or form. I'd never even heard, I'm sure at some point there was some YouTube thing that I had seen about people living longer, but it was just so sci-fi, just like way out there to me. I was like, oh, this is actually happening. People are actually doing the research and working on this. So that was really interesting to find out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when my first introduction to longevity was. I don't think it was until Richard, watching 8-hour live streams back in 2017, 2018, and hearing him just mention it and talk about it. I'm like, well, I kind of like this guy now. He's probably, I would like to live longer. I didn't know anyone was even working on it or anyone cared that was doing, wanted to push it further than just, common medicine and stuff like that, or curing 1 or 2 diseases. I never knew there was people who were actually pushing it to the area of creating therapies where, you can be healthy for 100, 150, 200 years. That was just being someone who's into technology and really likes the technical side of it and really likes the life wisdom side of it, and just, all that really spoke to me a lot. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's live forever. Let's I want to talk to the guy, or I want to support the guy who wants me to live forever, or live for a very long time.
Yeah, and be rich whilst living.
Be rich. Yeah, yeah, yep. Be rich while you're doing it. So I'd rather be. If you're going to be unhappy, you're going to be sad. I'd at least rather be driving a Lambo or a Porsche rather than Pinto's the line, but that's like the.
Oh, your audio is kind of cutting out.
What's like the worst car that you would never want to have?
Worst. Sorry, your audio kind of cut out, but I heard you say, what is the worst car that I would never want to have? Is it just me, y'all? He's frozen. Is he frozen? Am I frozen?
Oh, yeah.
What has happened? All I see is frozen. Hello? He's Q-Back, can you?
And we're back.
Oh,
that was our
and we're back.
Scheduled break. That's
okay.
Good thing I have like 5 internet connections here. So cool. Nice. Sorry, I was saying, awesome. What is the worst car you can think of?
This is a bad question for me because I'm not a big car person.
I I like BMW. I'm not
Something.
sure
Oh,
if
like
Chris Psychedelics was saying BMW is the worst or best. I'm not sure.
I think he might think that they're the worst because he's a mechanic,
Yeah.
so he has to work on them. So if it's
Oh,
hard to work on them, then they're
good point.
pieces of shit. I would say and this is probably not a very popular answer, and it's also not ironic. That's what I'm looking for.
It's been
So
clarified.
my van I live in is a diesel, and I don't necessarily think diesel is the best thing in the world. So I used to be one of those people that was like, oh, I drive a Prius and I hate these guys with these big old trucks that wasting all this gas and yeah.
Mm,
I guess that way. But I also have
okay,
opened
so
my
diesel
mind
van.
view
Yeah, so
and I know that like Priuses and electric cars are actually not that great for the environment either. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think anyone who drives an electric car would
it's a
call a
hard one for
Prius
me.
maybe a throwaway car as well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I do have a
Yeah,
million mile
no
van.
van.
Sure do. Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
it's a Freightliner Sprinter van, and it's a 2007. So they did something the year after that messed with like the fuel intake or something, and it's not as good. But this one is supposed to be like solid for a very long time. So I'm hoping it does
Nice.
go a million
Nice.
miles for sure. Yeah.
So why hex? I'm curious too, because I think everyone has their reason for hex. Maybe it's Richard, maybe it's the CD aspect where you don't have to worry about it, you stick it forever. Like what do you think is your like if you had what's your elevator pitch for hex? If you were talking to somebody and
Ooh.
they just don't get it, you're just like, hey, no, it's this. Like it does this. This will appeal to you.
To me, it's the long-term holding because when I was looking into options trading, stake and chill, baby. Like, I don't have to worry about the price. I don't have to worry about the volatility. The code works, it does what it does, and it's going to continue to do that. And the T shares, which is the thing that people forget about or like don't talk about enough, in my opinion, the fact that my money is making money. It's to me, this is the most beautiful form of passive income because I don't have to do anything. Not a thing. Like rentals, like rental property. No, like you have to upkeep and change tenants and what the heck ever. And then there was putting my money into a high yield savings account that's going to earn me 0.6% a
Point
year.
six.
Yeah,
Wow.
when inflation is what? Ridiculous,
Much
right?
more than point 0.6
Right. So I'm
times
losing
10 times
money.
15.
You think you're saving in your savings account, you ain't saving shit. You're saving nothing.
Oh, that's a good one. Maybe we
Yeah.
should, instead of saying a savings account, you should call it a losing account.
It is a losing account. Absolutely. Because you cannot combat the inflation that is happening with all this money printing. And yeah, that would be it. It's just, it's to me, it's the most simple way to have passive generational wealth. Easy. Pew,
Yeah.
pew.
But so, you say that and someone's like, well, so I always come up with this, you feel like you explain it really well and they're on board. And then at the end, they just can't do it. And then I think it comes back to, they just don't trust Richard. Like they just can't, they can't, they just, I think I've literally narrowed it down to this. You could explain how it's the best product ever, but if they don't trust the founder, and it could be, and it's not against Richard personally, just like in general, if
Mhm.
they don't trust where they're putting their money, if it doesn't sound like bank and bank equals safe,
Right.
or they've not seen this person on TV, or they've not, whatever, they just cannot believe that, he would be the person who could take his 10,000x. He like he would be the guy. Like, why is he the guy? I feel like that's the only thing I cannot overcome when I explain it to people. It is when I do the
Mm.
elevator pitch and they're like, well, and then it always comes back to, oh, it could be a scam. It could be, how do you know he's not going to run away with the money? Blah, blah, blah. I could spend an hour
Oh,
talking to them about it and it wouldn't make a
yeah.
difference. They still could not feel that safety in investing.
I think a good point to that I would bring up is having met all these Hexicans that I met in Las Vegas, and I commented about this on I think a Cabana crypto stream at one point, and I said, am I right in thinking that many of the OGs who got in early and have staking ladders and such, even if Hex went back to like a penny, right? Like, because they bought pre big payday, pre all that. Even if Hex went to a penny, they would kind of be set for the rest of their lives still, because it just keeps going. It's just going to keep
Yeah.
going. Like, they're going to continue to earn this income. So once Hex gets past a certain point for us, the people that have bought in at this point, same thing. We're just going to continue to earn this yield. It just, it's just nuts to me that, and it's hard because I think that's part of it. It's one of those too good to be true scenarios. You're like,
Yes.
oh, well, how is that even possible? He has made thousands of millionaires already, and they're going to continue to be millionaires. And like, that's not going to stop happening. So
Yeah.
that's one
It,
thing. There was, go ahead.
you think it's how long it's been around too? You think, you can sell people Bitcoin. They're like, oh, Bitcoin, I've seen it on billboards. I've seen it at a grocery store, all this stuff. Do you think, so one is, it hasn't been around as long as, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. And two is they just, I don't know, it's funny. I always ask people who founded Bitcoin to be like, oh, some anonymous person. But Richard's actually here and live and you talk to him. So like, how do you think it is like the longevity factor of it? Like how long it's been around?
Not just that, but the fact that people don't see it on the market caps, which again, like we all know is just some bullshit,
Number 200.
like, because you can't buy it on coin. I think it comes down to DeFi. People do not understand DeFi, and that you don't want to buy things on a centralized exchange. You don't want to use Coinbase or Binance or any of these other tools because you don't own your money. It becomes this it's like a learning barrier, right? Like, you have to get past the point of not knowing and start to learn what true DeFi is and how important it is that you own the keys, you hold the keys to your wallet. You are your own bank, and people can't I think that's hard for people to get past the idea of, having that middleman, because we've had it for so long that's been the way it's been for so many years. So it's scary. I think that it
Yeah.
frightens people.
You think when they get into it, they say, okay, my friends bought some tokens. I'm going to buy some tokens. And then they just kind of like sit there and they just, okay, I got the tokens. And then should I buy different tokens? And they just never make that next mental leap to like, you are your own bank.
Right.
I think that's another one too.
Yeah, and that took me 3 or 4 years to get into and figure out, right? Because I was in Binance and I bought a few things, and I was like, oh, cool, I have these things, but I didn't have my own MetaMask wallet or anything. It was just all on the exchange, and I didn't know any better.
Exactly.
I think Kool-Aid probably tried to tell me at the time, but it wasn't something that I was going to invest a lot of time into. So, I was just like, oh, I own a Bitcoin.
So why that? Why wouldn't you spend a lot of time into it? I'm just trying to dig into like the new to crypto mindset. Like, why don't you think you put more time into it back then?
I think I just had so many other things that I was interested in, and it wasn't. I mean, I feel like crypto in general is becoming so much more viral now. And as much as Richard dislikes the NFT world, I think that that's a big reason that it's becoming a lot more popular and people are becoming more interested in the crypto world in general. It was just such a new technology. New technologies frighten people, and they're leery of, putting money into it. Many people, and then there's the people that are, like Richard, like, oh, this is brilliant. Let me start mining Bitcoin. Ding ding, genius, billionaire, like,
Yeah.
So it definitely takes a certain mindset for you to get on board with it.
Yeah. I think well said. I mean, I feel like there's so many of these baby hurdles that people go through, and just getting them to the finish line is just, and not letting them get distracted with another, shiny thing coming out,
right.
Which is funny in the Richard Heart ecosystem. Actually, I never thought about that till right now. Shiny object is PulseChain, PulseX, all these tokens. Yeah. So once you're in HEX, you can't really get distracted, or it's much harder to get distracted with other shiny things because Richard keeps making new shiny things. So do you think PulseChain is you think that's like gonna suck people in and like keep them in longer because there's a bigger ecosystem now than just token called HEX?
I think so. I think that PulseChain is going to lead a lot of people to HEX because it's a huge it's a much bigger, right? It's a whole ecosystem, right? It's not just a coin. And we're inviting all of these other people who have, all these other platforms onto the Pulse chain. And of course, there's going to be the people that are degens. There's going to be people that, like come onto Pulse chain and, do a thing and that are going to scam people. Like that's definitely going to happen. There's going to be people who probably go on to Pulse chain and do a project. And then they're like, maybe they find out something they don't like about Richard and then they pull their project. Like all that's going to happen. But I believe that ultimately there is going to be a large percentage of people who see the value in it. They are going to, I mean, if Pulse chain is going to be anything like Hex is, that code is going to be really beautiful. And, hopefully we're going to have 100% uptime just like Hex. And, that's going to lead people to want to know more about Richard and want to know more about his products. Because I know that there are going to be tons of people who are in PulseX that have never heard of Hex. And it's going to, they're going to have to go down that rabbit hole to figure out, oh, hey, this is actually this thing right here. This is where the real value is. So that's my opinion, not financial advice.
Yeah, no, I think exactly the same. I think it's going to be this rabbit hole that's going to suck people in, and they're not going to want to leave. Just like if you really understand Hex, you don't want to leave. You want to be like, no, this is a great. Like, why would again, obviously biased, Richard Heart Maximalist, but I just think that it's so. Why do you want any other product? What other product is going to make you money while you sleep? You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about pump and dump. You don't have to worry about rug pull. We only do magic carpet rides here. You don't have to worry about that stuff. Like, why would you want to get into other ones? I want to say out in the chat real quick, QBat and Chris Psychedelics, you guys have been killing it lately. Great comments, great questions. And yeah, keep it coming. Share the link.
Hi, Finn Bear.
Live.
Too.
Yeah, Finn Bear is here as well. Yes. Hello. Always appreciate it. Hex Deck. We got, Hex Deck, keep it coming. Appreciate it. So just speaking of Richard too, before we move on to Scivive and fix the world, like what is, what's the best and what's the worst you've seen of Richard? Because, let's just, I know we're not, let's just put ourselves on a level playing field here. Nobody's above constructive criticism. I've seen some stuff over the years Richard said or did. I'm like, being in the security, for example, when he talks about security, I can tell he's not a developer. I can tell he's not a security guru because, of my extensive background in the industry. So, but means to an end, I know he's helped a lot of people out there, not taking any of that away. But I'd be curious, like, what have you seen that you don't think Richard could be any better at? And what have you seen where you're like, maybe not saying PP so much on the tweets, although we think it's funny. The broader audience may be like, oh, this guy, you had me until you said PP.
That's a good one. I'm going to go ahead and go with one of those. One of the things I'd say that is better is that as a new viewer of Richard and someone who had not seen him a few years ago, I think that he is a lot more eloquent. I mean, again, I go back and watch some of his older streams, and it's apparent that he has learned to do better, that he is a lot more eloquent with what he's saying. He's a lot less confrontational in a way, but you can also tell that it's not an act, right? Like he is still being true to himself. He's still Richard Hart, but he's a more refined gentleman, in terms of the way that he comes across. And I like that. I think that shows that he is not just, again, not putting on an act, and he's progressed, right? He is constantly working on himself. I think that's the thing, is that I see him like this morning. I commented on his post. He was in the gym with, showing off one of his outfits in the gym. And I was like, man, I don't care what you wear, but seeing you in the gym, like that means the world to me. And I think a lot of other people, because he's walking his talk. Right. So in the same vein, one of the worst times was just really recently when he was on that stream and he was talking about those Louis Vuitton, the chocolates that he got for Easter, and how he was depressed. Yeah. And he was like eating these chocolates, and, it was, and I don't know if that's, necessarily like a bad side of him, but to me, it was like, oh man, like You know, it bums me out to see him depressed because he has all of these methods on how to stay positive and like, you know, what to do to move forward and move away from that. And I think that in a more summed up way to say it is when he's not walking his talk, right? Like when he's being, you know, like eating the shit food and like not walking around and not, you know, doing what he encourages others to do through his work. So yeah, and
Yeah,
then
that's a
and
good point.
saying
I hadn't thought
PP,
about
you
that
know,
angle.
we could do without that one, Richard. Like, you know, like you know, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it doesn't like it doesn't turn me off because it's just like that's him. Like he's just, you know, he's fucking proud of that dick. Do it.
That's true. I mean, the thread was do your biggest flex. So he literally listed the $27 million charity. He listed all these things. And at the end, there was big PP. So
Yeah.
nothing like a Richard Hart signature. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's funny to see, you know, he says, he's like, I know what I am. I'm rich and funny, but what he says, fat and old, rich and funny, fat and old, something like that. So I like the way that he doesn't shy away from even like, you know, people used to say, I remember, again, I've watched every single stream he's ever did that I could ever find. And sometimes I remember in the early days, a lot of people would, you know, the comments would be full of like, oh, you know, big boobs, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he would never get mad, but it was just funny the way, like, obviously you shouldn't say that. That's not very nice to say to somebody. But the way he would handle it was just so amazing. He would just be like, yeah, I know, big tits, big boobs, all this stuff. He would just like completely have no response to it and call it out and like not forget that anyone said it, but let everyone know
Right.
that he heard it, but he does not care. And I thought that was very powerful. Very like that's like wielding power in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And that, I mean,
yeah.
quick point, like brings, you know, like I'm not gonna have my stepson watch him, you know, yet or really anytime soon. But there are definitely parts of Scivive, and at some point I'd love for him to read Scivive. But like also hearing that, so my stepson was teased extensively at the beginning of this school year for months, and we really had to just kind of like come together and like talk to him about it. And what ended up happening is that he he kind of got that mentality, that Richard Hart mentality, like, you know, yeah, you know, whatever, it's a thing, like, but I'm just gonna let it slide off my back. You know, he didn't let the insults or whatever, the teasing stick to him. He
Mhm.
had the mental power to just be like, yeah, whatever, you know, and just let it go. And that, you know, that being able to do that for anyone is a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago too. Just your ability to, um, like, if something hurts your feelings, it's because you believe part of it at least might be true. So if you don't
Mm,
believe in the names they're calling you, or you don't believe this, or you don't believe it enough to let it affect you, you know, if someone calls you, hey, you look like uh, a coffee cup. You're not going to be mad because you're like, that's
right.
ridiculous. I don't look like a coffee cup. Like that's kind of weird that you said that. But if someone, you know, calls you a fake streamer or you know, some kind of like groupie or like just some other thing that you know isn't true, but makes you think, huh, like do my activities look that way? Am I just this follower who has no life other than, you know, I mean, RH Maximalist, are you just obsessed with this guy? Like, do you have nothing else better to do in your life but then just talk about him and his ideals and like promote his stuff? Like, you know, obviously, like part of that could be true. I would think, huh, like I don't know. Let me reflect for a second and think, and then
Mhm.
maybe I'll think about it and say, no, actually, that's not true. You know, I have my own good reasons. So no, you're a Tao. I like that. So yeah, somebody calls you a Tao. That would be very strange. You'd probably laugh at it. You wouldn't get your, you know, you wouldn't take it seriously. So
Right.
I think that's a way I try to look at it a lot. Kapil Gupta, another person that Naval talks to a lot. I think he's like Naval's guru or something like that. He gets pretty deep, but that's one of the things in one of his books that I was reading about. It's like, yeah, you only care about it if you feel like a part of it may be true, and then you can obviously have this conversation with yourself if that's true or not. And hey, maybe some of it is true. Maybe worst case, you get some good feedback. You change your behavior a little bit,
Yep.
Like even people insulting you can actually help you if you take it positively. Like anything in life, you can get something positive out of it. So maybe, you know, with your stepson scenario, maybe this will be something that he'll use later on in life to harden himself against similar attacks, and maybe he'll even become more confident about it and more, you know, owning what he's good at and all these things.
Yeah,
So I
he's
think
been great at that. It's been awesome to see
good.
that happen instead of the opposite, you know, like he's very good at being expressive instead of going, you know, like getting lost in his head.
Yeah, exactly. So Cubat's got a question. How do we make crypto easier? So maybe this is going back to our conversation a few minutes ago about how, you know, hey, Hex is a token. I have Hex. Cool. What do I do with it? You know, oh, you stake it. Okay, so I just never look at it. Okay. Well, how do I buy it? Okay, well, you got to get Ethereum and you got to go, you know, Uniswap. Wait till we introduce you to Uniswap. If you don't understand anything now, you're definitely not going to understand how to, you know, approve a transaction, all this stuff in MetaMask. So how do we make crypto easier? SJ, what do you think?
So for me, I really think that that has a lot to do with the people who are creating on, you know, creating on or for PulseChain. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is Staker. I think the Staker app guys did a phenomenal job with that app because I have onboarded like pretty much all of my family. I've onboarded them through Staker app because it's easy, it's simple. You don't have to worry about Uniswap. You don't have to worry about MetaMask. Like you just create everything through the app. It's on your phone and there it all is. And that to me is like the most convenient, easiest way for someone like my dad who's 75 and, you know, isn't going to get into trading, probably isn't going to, you know, really do anything else with his crypto, you know, but he just believes that, you know, he trusts me and believes that, you know, we're on to something big here. So that's, you know, people building on ramps, off ramps, like that's going to make crypto easier is something like that. And I'm actually going to put this in the chat for you to share. This is a guide that I created for Staker app,
Okay.
where this is actually something that I used to do for back in the day. I worked for Blizzard Entertainment and I would create these step-by-step walkthroughs with photos and, you know, this is exactly what you do. This is the button that you push. This is the next step. So that's if you want crypto to be easier for someone, check out this document that I made. It's going to get updates once Staker V2 comes out. But for me, that is right now the easiest way to get someone into Hex who is a no coiner or is not interested in learning more, which is, you know, to me, that's detrimental to their financial well-being because you want to know more and you want to know that you're being your own bank and how DeFi works. But at the same time, you know, if you just know someone wants to do it, but they're probably not gonna even, like I was 5 years ago, you know, like not even look at it again, or, you know, like maybe not think about it for a year or two. Staker app and you know, as the community grows, we're gonna make it easier. We're gonna continue to build products so that it is easier to get our friends and family and people that we know on board and into this.
Yeah, that's a great point. Apps, just removing as much friction as possible. I think that's a huge thing. It's so, you know, people start looking at, I mean, Richard talks about this with, you know, the, what is it called? Unit bias, where, you know, having a lot of coins is better than having a smaller amount if you want adoption, because people don't know what 0.001 is, but they know what 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 is. So that makes a lot less friction too for people understanding crypto. So no, I'll put that doc in the description as well, but I threw it in the chat. Hopefully it posted. So no, great question. Get 20 cents, it's over. Yeah, we've been looking at Hex. We've been anticipating it's hit over 20 cents, and that's gonna be fun. I think you know, everyone's expecting this pump up until the fork, and so we'll see where it goes from there. Will it hit the 53 cents, 56 cents, whatever the all-time high was before? Will it break it? All I know is May and June should be very exciting.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're all hoping for that. So let's change into Scivive and fix the world. So what first you want to sort of introduce Scivive, what it is, and then maybe talk a little bit about Fix the World and your work that you've been doing on it.
Sure, absolutely. So Scivive is a beast of a document. It is currently all in PDF form, and it is broken down into subsections. And the way he did it was, in fact, I should have Scivive up right now to look at that, but because I can't think of it all off the top of my head. But basically, it was like mind, body, spirit. You might even know.
Money, power, respect, time, experience, longevity is like number 10. I was going to ask you too. So there's 9 on the logo, but longevity is number 10 on the chapters. What's the deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that he just kind of threw that in there as like that's an additional thing that he really cares about, that he wants people to know about. And it's been really interesting to see all of these responses to this poll about changing the name of Scivive and you know, maybe even putting these 2 books together, because Fix the World is really there. In fact, there's a big chunk at one point in Fix the World that is also already in Scivive. And they seem to really kind of jive as very similar books, because it's what Richard believes about all of these different things. So I think that maybe Scivive is a little more introspective, where, you know, he's kind of teaching you how to look at yourself internally and how to do these things within the world yourself. Whereas maybe Fix the World is a little bit more broad, and he's talking more about a larger audience and social behaviors and how human behavior plays into business and politics and crime and race and all of that. So yeah, Fix the World was I believe it was probably in the state that Scivive was before this edit. And I didn't see it at that point. The most recent version, that's the PDF document that's in the Scivive Telegram, that's what I've been working off of. So I know that before that, there was a much less edited, way more Frankenstein version of it. And that's kind of what Fix the World is like. There are parts where it says like inaudible, because you can tell that it was taken from him speaking. And there's all these little notes at the end, which I've asked him now, and I still don't know. He hasn't had a chance to answer me on that. Like, I still don't know what these little like blips are. It's like all these little notes that I think link back to maybe some stream that he did at some point in time. And as I'm going through it, I know that I'm going to need to like clarify some of that with him at some point, but I'm trying to do as much as I can without bothering him. So it's actually looking really good. You're the only other person that's seen it, actually, other than Richard has the link, but I don't know if he's actually looked at it yet. But it is a lot cleaner. We're putting it into more defined chapters, and I really like the idea. In fact, he says this in Fix the World, because he like kind of does notes to self every now and then in his writing, and he says, you know, it's good when books have like a number, because they're seen first on lists, and also it's a little more like, he likes the way that description works. So I'm thinking that when I present Fix the World, when I'm done editing it, it will be blank ways to fix the world. So depending on how many chapters we end up doing, it'll probably be something like 11 to 12 ways to fix the world. And then when I do that, and then I will record the audio, because that will take me like a day or probably a couple days to do. I think that I'm going to try to talk to Richard, or, you know, try and like message him and see what he thinks about combining them. And, you know, as I go through editing Scivive, it just becomes this new like blank ways of the heart to fix the world. You know, we'll have to figure something out and talk more about a title, but I think that it might be beneficial to combine them.
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask you, how long is Fix the World? Like, would it fit as a few chapters? Could Scivive be 15 chapters, for example, and, you know, maybe change the name and all this stuff? But is it enough to stand alone, or should it be just combined into one book?
So there are some chapters within Scivive that are longer than Fix the World is. Fix the World is it's like less than 100 pages. And there
That's what I
are
was
a couple chapters
thinking.
within Scivive that are over 100 for sure. So yeah, I think it could
Hmm.
be either added on as a chapter at the end, or maybe even, like I said, there are parts that are in both books. So maybe even just like chunking it out and taking anything within Fix the World that fits already within the chapters of Scivive, and then whatever doesn't fit, tacking that on to the end as a different chapter about, maybe the more, like I said, more global and more broad ways to do things.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And
I would buy
so,
that
how would you?
Sci-Fi book too. Just
Yeah, I think we're all waiting on the print version to put on our bookshelf and put in the background
yeah.
and all that. It'd be fantastic. What so so what is Fix the World like for people who are like what is that versus sci-fi?
So in Fix the World, he goes into talking about like the military complex and the prison systems, and there's that hashtag that we were trying to kind of take off, was fix the money, fix the world. There's a
Mm,
section in it that the only section that I feel would need some updating and some changing is where he talks about currency, because there's a lot about Bitcoin in there. And
mm,
now we don't do Bitcoin, Richard. What we gonna do? So
mhm,
so that needs to be revamped, for sure. Um, so yeah, it's more where he's talking about politics, class, and like the class war, and um just business, and how businesses are, you know can be helpful to society in general. So yeah, like I said, I feel like it's a more broad, and more universal kind of piece, whereas Sci-Vibe is wanting you to more work on yourself and be like more
mm.
self-mastery.
Yeah, so sci-fi would be more of self-mastery and Fix the World would be well fixing the world, like how to improve the world, how to improve your environment, how to
And
understand the
maybe,
big issues out there.
yeah, maybe I could even say like it would be perhaps like a guideline to how he would run Hexago, like how this is how
Mm,
Richard would have his own have his own country. And maybe that's a thought too. Maybe we take the ideas where he's talking about creating a better society, and it becomes like, here's Richard Hart's manual on how Hexago can be made, kind of thing.
yeah, the documents to write the Constitution of Hexaco or Sci-Fi Land.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that sci-fi
Richard
land.
Richardville. There's plenty of times to come up with names for it. Yeah, no, that's so when do you think it's going to be when do you how far along are you when do you think we'll get an audio version? Because I have not read Fix the World completely. I've read parts of it, but I'm sort of like anxious to get audio version for that as well, so I can like really get into it and spend some time.
Yeah, I think, well, so I want to say 4 more weeks. Because the bigger chunk of
Two
editing has
months.
been done. 2 months. I It'll probably take at least a couple months, because personally,
Mm,
I'm moving. I've got a friend coming into town that I'm gonna be entertaining. So I know that there's things that are like, for me personally, like it's gonna kind of like, not. I mean, I work on it not daily, but almost daily, for hours at a time. So I know that at the next like 4 weeks of my life, I may not be able to do as much work. Um, but and the editing now at this point, this is so here's the thing, it's tough to say, because I'm gonna go through it as well as I can to clean things up and make it all make sense. There's a lot of parts where I'm taking out, with keep while keeping his voice, so it still sounds like Richard. There's a lot of parts where he says, and or like, the filler words. So
mm-hmm.
cleaning up all of that. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm at I would say I'm probably like within the first 10% of the document, in terms of cleaning it up right now. And it's just,
Mm.
it's just a matter of sitting down and going through that. But once I'm done with as much as I can do, I'm going to have questions for Richard, and there's going to be things that he's going to need to clarify or help me, like, figure out, okay, do we even want this in the book? Should I just nix this? Like, what do you want to do here? And so then that's going to be kind of ball is in his court time. And I don't know, with everything going on over the next few weeks for him, especially, how long that's going to take for him to get back to me. With that being said,
Yeah.
I probably will be able to start an audio version, because like this, for this first 10% that I've just already like gone through and looked at, it's ready. Like I can do the audio for the first 10% that I've just fixed. So I don't know how much longer that's gonna, go on as we go down
Mm.
the line. But yeah, give me a couple months
Couple
at the
months.
latest, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, hopefully Richard is listening, or will see this somewhere, or will see the work that you're doing, and give you, at least a 15-minute Zoom call to just be like, all right, SJ, lay it on me. What are your questions?
Yeah, and
Let's clarify, and that'll make it go a lot quicker too.
exactly. That's what I want to do, is like when I like that would make the most sense, is like once I'm done with this fine tooth comb editing that I'm doing right now, I will have the document. I'm doing it in with comments along the way, and then he'll be able to, we can sit down together, hopefully, like just like you're saying, do a Zoom call, go over each comment and be like, okay, like let's clarify, is this something we can do or not? So
Right.
please.
Yeah, he seems a little busy right now too, as you mentioned. Speaking of that, do you think Pulse is launching this month? Do you think it's coming in 2 more months? Do you think it's coming this year?
I'm
What
a
do you think?
positive thinking person, so I'm on board for another week or two at the latest. I do think it's going to be mid-May. There hasn't really been
Mhm.
anything otherwise. We haven't heard anything about another test net even. So I'm just like, oh, it sounds to me like we're close, and everyone's talking
Mhm.
about it being super close, and Richard hasn't said otherwise. So
Well, that's a good point. He hasn't said much recently. Did a few
yes, and that's
things.
always a good
I have a
thing,
feeling he's heads
I think.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. If we get 2 weeks, if we get a week and a half, we get 10 days before the fork. I think that would flow really well. So um, and then the fork, and then right up to that, let's see. So that'd be testnet v3, and then the fork. So I don't know, mid-May, cutting it close, late May. I'm seeing that now. My prediction has been May.
Are
I
we gonna
think
do a testnet V3? Is that for real? Like, is that
he
actually gonna
hasn't
happen?
said no yet. He said it'd be a quick one. That's
Okay.
the latest I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that
So
may
then,
push
yeah,
it
maybe
around a little bit.
maybe end of May.
Yeah, I think it's safer to say end of May, or in the beginning of June now. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping in the
I'm
next few
rooting for May
days.
28th. That's
Oh, is that your
my
birthday?
it's my half birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that'll work too. May 28th. Lots of people are rooting for May 28th. I'm sure if that would be the date. Um,
Yes, yes.
awesome. Yeah, Fix the World. I think we're all excited about that. Let's get into the segment called Two Good Books. So I don't know if you prepared. I prepared a couple. Just want to talk about a couple books. I mean, so I'm a big reader. I think you're a big reader too. Audiobooks. I read a lot of summaries. You see me tweeting about, all kinds of different stuff when I see clips and things from authors and different stuff I like. So this one I actually haven't read. Beginning of Infinity, Fix the World. So this is David Deutsch. It's kind of a scientific book, but you don't need to read the entire book. There's plenty of summaries out there, and there's plenty of people who spend a lot of time going through the different ideals. So if you want to read the book, it's not that long. It's a few hundred pages, but it is basically the explanation of the universe. It is something that will make you, if you put time into it and study it and really, I mean, again, you don't have to read it word for word. You can listen to the audiobook. You can, passively, you can, Naval and what's his name? Talk teacher, Brett Hall. Brett Hall did basically a 1 or 2 part walkthrough of the book where they discuss reflections on all the ideals. Highly recommend that. Anyways, it's how to understand the world in so many different ways. Great book. I'll put it in the description, of course, so you can check it out afterwards. And the other one I would say is 4 Hour Body. I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan, and 4 Hour Body has just been something that I've been listening to it. And Tim Ferriss, I really feel like I get to know the author even more. He also did 4 Hour Work Week. He did 4 Hour Chef. He's did a lot of books like that, just basically how to optimize your life and to be really good and know like what you need to know about a subject to really figure it out. So Tim Ferriss is great. I recommend all this stuff. Robin Sharma, I'll do a bonus. Robin Sharma, you know, the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. He's did a bunch of other books. Super good author. I'll consume everything from that guy as well. But yeah, 4 Hour Body is just it's about nutrition. It's about I mean, he talks about everything to do with your body from head to toe, how to feed yourself, how to be healthier, how to exercise and get the most out of each thing. So it's not a boring book. It's a very exciting book, and you'll get to know Tim Ferriss very well by reading. I learned a lot of stuff about the author that I was like, wow, can't believe you put that in the book. It's got some explicit stuff that is very, very helpful and interesting as well. So those are my two books. The Beginning of Infinity, David Deutsch, and 4 Hour Body with Tim Ferriss. How about you?
Awesome. So I already mentioned one. I wonder if this will work. No, of course not. The book cover is green, but it's You Are a Badass at Making Money. So Jen Sincero did these two books, You Are a Badass and then You Are a Badass at Making Money. I like it because of the way that she frames or helps you frame your mentality around things. To me, it was very powerful to read this, and it's been a minute since I have. So I can't think of a lot of examples off the top of my head, but I just know that I was reading this when I was getting into HEX. And so it's been about a year since I've read this, and it really just excited me. It got me excited to be in control of my money. It got me excited to look forward to making more money and to know my worth, right? Like, and I have a good friend who also kind of helped with that many years ago. You know, he was just like, you know, make sure that your time is invaluable. So make sure that you're getting paid well if you're doing something to, you know, like you want to be sure that you're feeling like your time is being valued as you feel it should be. Thank you. And then the other, I'm going to try and bring this one, should actually show up. I bring this one up because I feel like many people have people in their lives who drain them or take away time and energy from them. So this one is called Stop Caretaking, the Borderline or Narcissist. Move that back a little bit. You can see the author's name there. And I read this because I won't go into the whole story, but I've had, I met my birth parents when I was around 20, and we had a decent relationship for many years. And as time went on, I started to really see how she was affecting me negatively, and how I would start getting anxious if I knew she was going to text me, or, you know, even after. So yeah. So basically, like, I think that this book is really monumental if you feel like you have anyone in your life that is draining you, taxing you, making you feel anxious, regardless of who they are. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your best friend. It doesn't matter who it is or how they are related to you. It is not worth your time and energy to put into a person who is just going to continually drain you and continually take and take and take and never give or never seek help. And that was the hardest thing for me, is that she doesn't know that that's how she is. She doesn't see that she's affecting all these other people in her life this way. And I'm not the only one who's had to cut her out of my life. And even after reading this book, there was a period of time where we didn't speak because I was just like, I can't. And then there was a period of time where I was like, okay, I read this book. I feel prepared. I'm going to allow her back into my life. However, it's going to be on my terms. and I'm not going to allow her to, I'm going to set boundaries, and I'm not going to allow her to cross those boundaries, whether it's time, space, whatever it was in terms of the boundary. And even in that like kind of relationship where I was setting the boundaries, and we were kind of having some resemblance of a relationship, even then it got bad, and I felt just taken advantage of, taken for granted. And I was like, you know what, I don't want this anymore. I cannot continue to live my life worrying about her and her life and what she is or isn't doing in her life, and how she feels about me, or how she judges me. Like it no longer computed. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So it was a very difficult thing to do, but I haven't spoken to her in, it's been months now. I think it was like the end of this last year that I finally was just like, hey, look, because she sent me this really nasty text, and it was just, I was like, okay, look, like, and I said some pretty pokey things. I was like, you gave me up once, like you abandoned me when I was a baby, so for you to not have this relationship with me again, like, like, sorry, but you don't deserve. And I didn't say that to her in this way, but I was just like, you don't deserve to have me in your life. Like, if you're going to continue to treat me this way and continue to take me for granted and, make me feel like crap, like over and over again, y'all, you deserve better. Know that you deserve better, and take control of, any time or energy that you're putting out there. Just know that it's valuable, and you are valuable, and you are worth spending time and energy on yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're not responsible for making anyone else happy. Like people
Exactly.
put that, especially when a family's really, on it, and friends, you feel like, oh, if your friends and family are unhappy with you or for whatever way, that's on them. Like they need to figure out, they need to either change their expectations, or they need to figure out, are they, why are they unhappy? Why are they unhappy with you? Like, why,
Right.
You are your own person. You can only worry about what you can worry about. And it's, you got to take care of yourself first. So I can see that putting a mental strain, and definitely, especially with the complexities around, being your birth mother and not being there for your life and stuff. Like that's that kind of relationship, plus the expectations, plus the, other strife is, it's got to be rough. So, can't make everyone happy. You got to make yourself happy, and then go from there. So, that's another question I want to ask you about too, is like, what's something that you strongly believe in that most people disagree with you about?
So this one's a fun hot button issue.
Yeah, it's a Peter Thiel type question. I like he asks it during interviews, to really get people thinking. I mean, like bad answers are like climate change, or something that's like, okay, of course there's a lot of people on one side, a lot of people on the other side, blah blah blah. But like, what's something personal to you that like you fully are into and agree and want to do it in a certain way, but lots of people disagree, but it's the right way?
Ooh, well, I would say, let me preface this with, I know it's the right way for me. Because this is what I'm about to talk about is definitely not the right way for everybody. And we all have our own, different personalities and different morals and views. But the first thing I thought about when you asked that question is polyamory. And there are different words for that, and there are different ways to explain it. But I like using that word a little bit more, because it's not just an open relationship to me. It's not just like, like I have this, person that I'm with, and we both just kind of sleep around, or it's nothing like that. When this topic comes up, I feel very passionately that I am the kind of person who has so much love to give that it's difficult to just laser beam focus that on one person all the time, and I'm fortunate enough that I have a partner who feels similarly and understands that about me. And we've gone through ups and downs and ins and outs. And also, in fact, we began our relationship in an open manner, and it was different. It's not the way it is now. In fact, now it's more like and I don't know how many people understand polyamory or like what it is or how it all works, but basically
Mm,
to me it's not even a sexual thing. It's a spiritual, relational, soulmate kind of thing. Like, and I am the kind of person who I don't feel that I have a soulmate. Like, that's not something that I've ever believed. Like, I believe that there are different people out there that I could be soulmates with, and or that are my soulmates, and we have these relationships will come and go. And luckily, like, I feel like I've found a partner who's very solid, and I don't intend on leaving him ever. Like, that's not something that I'm interested in doing. I'm not out there looking to date someone to to take the place of my partner.
mhm,
It's to bring in more love into my life, and in some cases, possibly my relationship, Like, it's the people talk about there's a huge stigma or like a huge thing in polyamory communities where people think that they're looking for a unicorn, where it's like a couple goes out and they're just like looking for another third person to like have fun with. And that's not what I'm about either. Like, I know
mm,
that I love the way that I love. And, I've met someone recently who I love as well. And I'm hopeful that that love relationship can continue, and that love relationship enhances my current love relationship. So I think that's
mm,
the biggest, most controversial like thing for me in my life that I know a lot of people just like do not get it, do not agree. Like,
mm,
they think like monogamy is the only way, and I've tried that multiple times. I I've been married and divorced twice,
hmm,
and the first time I was of the monogamy mindset, totally, was about it. I just got married really young, and that was a mistake. Not a
mm,
mistake, but it wasn't right for me. Like, I shouldn't have gotten married so young. And then the second time, I was in a relationship that was, oof, how do I put this? I already knew at that point that I was polyamorous because I had,
mm,
in between the marriages, I had a very long relationship. I had a boyfriend for like 6 or 7 years, and we had explored that together just a little bit. Um, and so I knew that it was something that I was interested in and that I wanted to pursue, and that it just like, I think part of it is like my
mm,
hippie soul. Like, I have a hard time not falling in love with people, and that's I am a natural
mm,
flirt, and that's really important for my partner to know that I'm not, just because I'm talking to someone, I'm all excited and I'm giddy and I'm this way, like, it doesn't mean that I'm like trying to be sneaky. And that's the biggest thing for me about it too,
mhm,
is that like it's so much more about communication. It has made our relationship so much stronger. Like, we talk about everything. Like, we're able to just like really get to the root of any issue that we have because we have such open and honest communication with one another. So it's like there's no room for cheating, because like I want him to go out and like meet someone who's interested in the different things that because like, for a perfect example, he loves rollerblading, and I
mm,
love that he loves rollerblading, and he's super great about it. And like he's like a rollerblading master pro dude. Like, that's actually what his job is going to be this summer. He's like getting paid to rollerblade, which is the badassest thing. I think it would be super
that's cool.
cool if he found someone who is also interested in rollerblading and they could go rollerblade together. And whether or not it becomes a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, that's up to them. But I have
Hmm,
what they call compersion, where I get stoked that my partner is seeing someone else, or is interested in someone else. I'm like, yes, like, like, I don't like to rollerblade. Please, like, like,
mm,
if you feel like that's something that's very important to you, and that you need someone in your life that's gonna share that with you and be excited about that with you, then please, like, like, don't let me stop you. So that's, yeah,
mm.
that's a huge thing that I think is very different for me than other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's trade-offs both ways. Of course, you sacrifice with the monogamy, you sacrifice with the polygamy a bit in that way. No, I think whatever relationship fits your style and your spirit and your being, I think that's yeah. Again, it comes back to making yourself happy. You don't need to do what society tells you is the normal thing or the right thing or whatever. there's some things that, obviously don't kill people, don't like do all these like really horrible things. Those are kind of instinctual, but at the same time, yeah, it's I think to each their own. I've obviously never tried that type of relationship. I have a and yeah, don't think she'd go for that. But yeah, I think there's pros on this side. We can build our relationship together in different ways than you would in that way. But I'm also, I could definitely see the polyamorous side of just being the free and being to having all the relationships and the love you really put out there. I think that's very genuine and very, very clean. I really like that about it. So no, that's definitely something most people either wouldn't do or wouldn't agree with or wouldn't see as something viable. But hey, maybe it's like the hex of crypto is like, that's like the hex of relationships. Not many people know about it. Not many people would sign up for it and buy it yet, but hey, maybe they're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have heard Richard kind of touch on that thought too. He has mentioned that he doesn't think he's going to get married. And, I've heard him say things about having multiple relationships. And I just jive with that. I really just feel like, I feel like we also came from this more tribal and more communal living type of space. And then we just kind of got forced into all our little houses and driving our own cars. And that's a big thing for me too, is living in community. I think that that's beautiful. And I'm hopeful that Hexaco, if it comes into this, actual physical reality, is something along those lines where we are living more in community and taking care of one another. So
I can see it. Yeah, I could see Hexaco having different communities there. You can go over here and do this. You can go over here and do that. And maybe we all share these common values in the middle. But then, each people who are comfortable with whatever side, they kind of go in that group. And then, but everyone kind of complements each other in that way. And people, tolerance, acceptance, but also, you have your own space, you have your own ideals, you have your own way of doing things. As long as there's peace and love there, yeah, what could go wrong?
Absolutely.
So it's been an amazing conversation, SJ. We took in a bunch of different directions that I didn't plan on going. It's been phenomenal in that way. I think, and the last segment I want to get to on closing is our gratitude. So again, every day should be a little bit like Thanksgiving. You should eat good, have great conversations, say what you're thankful for, either to yourself, to others, whatever. But is there something that, something or someone you want to express gratitude to? Like, did someone do something for you recently that was special, or a company that's like, you're really thankful for their product and you want to give them props, or like something that, something just special in your life that you really appreciating and just want to get out there that this is good and, I'm happy this happened.
So I have a few answers on this one, actually, and just moving right along in the same theme. My boyfriend. I cannot thank him enough for being my rock through these last, what is this, 6 years now, almost. And again, like I said, the relationship it's transformed and been all sorts of different kinds of things, but like, to have someone who loves me for who I am at my core, like, it is the most refreshing, magical, wonderful, phenomenal thing. And I don't think I would have made it, like, mentally through these last couple of years without him. And the fact also that we happened to align on everything, like, going into this, I know a lot of couples who did not make it because they didn't see eye to eye, vax, unvaxxed, like putting your kid in school, with people that, just so many different things could have torn us apart. And over and over again, we just get stronger. And that to me has been the most, beautiful. I tell his mom, I was like, I don't need a piece of paper signed or a ring or anything. I am so much more committed to this man than anyone I've ever been married to or ever have had a relationship with in my life, because it's like the iron sharpens iron. And there's like a biblical term, equally yoked, like we are moving forward together at the same pace. And I just love that about him. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. And then
Great.
also I am thankful for Richard, for Richard Hart, and for all that he has done, and for him seeing my worth in terms of this editing and narration and what I'm doing. You know, we've had some words, and like knowing that he's appreciative of what I do is just, that means the world to me. Like I finally feel like I'm doing work that is not just worthy of being put out there, but worthy of my time and energy. For the first time, I'm like,
Yes.
this is absolutely what I want to do and what I want to focus on and how I want to move forward in life. So thank you, Richard Hart, for everything. And then there's like three more things. So one more person, my mom. I am so grateful. Like we butt heads growing up. Oh my God, did I not get, we were like this. My whole, I'm not like you. I don't, you know, like you're not my mom. I don't think I ever actually said that to her, but you know, I had those thoughts, you know, like my mom that raised me. And actually through that whole predicament, that whole time with like the thing going on with my birth mom, that really brought me and my mom that raised me together even stronger. Like I appreciate and respect her. I am so grateful for everything that she did for me growing up. And I'm not a person of faith, like religiously, but she is. And I used to kind of be really jaded about it and, you know, not really like it, but the fact she's a prayer warrior and she has this group of women that she prays with, and I know that I'm in her prayers constantly, and that has now, you know, that now means the world to me as well. Like knowing that I have someone who is constantly putting out that prayerful energy into the world for me, and I know that I would be here without her love and thoughts and prayers. And then the next thing was Hex Foodies. I'm very grateful that within the Hex community, I have found this like micro community, which I'm hoping grows a lot, because that is something that has been a huge influence on my life. I quit working a desk job at Blizzard Entertainment to go work on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Texas. And that changed everything. It changed the way I look. It changed what I eat. It changed you know, where I tend to go and what I do with my life. Like I spent many years working on organic farms, growing food and teaching people how to grow food. And I just was so overjoyed to find a community within this community who are also very excited about that. And happy Arbor Day. Today is Hex Arbor Day. Please go
Happy
plant
Arbor
a tree.
Day.
Yeah. Yeah, Inviting Freedom and Eco Build Davin both were encouraging people to go out there and plant a tree today that you can see grow over these next 15 years, just like your Hex stakes. So, you know, that to me, just finding community has been monumental in just my journey through Hex. And then lastly, I was like, well, does Scivive count? Can I thank Scivive? Because Scivive has also helped me personally with branding. I decided to change from SJ Reed's Scivive to having my own brand, which is, you know, WildSJ. Because Richard talks about that. He says that you should have your own brand. I was like, well, you know, I love Scivive, but he's the author. And then I've also just recently, as part of the fitness challenge, this is actually before the fitness challenge, but and I don't know how long it'll be a thing or if I'm going to stick with this forever, but I was smoking cannabis every day, and it's something that I've enjoyed, but in part I wanted to stop, especially with like physically like smoking it because of my throat. Like I want to be sure that when I am doing these audiobooks that I have the best tool, you know, and that everything is like super great and healthy here.
Absolutely.
And I know it's not cigarette smoke, but it also, it still affects you, affects your lungs. And I also in part did it because I missed my dreams. I wanted to start dreaming again. And so just, you know, seeing a lot of people talk about how Scivive helped them quit this or that or the other thing, knowing that Richard doesn't smoke or partake in those kinds of things, was something that I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going to back off on this for a little while and just like see how my life goes, and, you know, see if it's something that I really need in my life, because it's, you know, it's time and money and all sorts of other things go into having a habit like that. So yeah. So thank you, Scivive.
Sure. It's a lot. That's a lot of things to be thankful for sure. No, it's
I'm a very thankful person.
Richard. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. just want to answer the question real quick from Chris. Thoughts on BTC and ETH? Going to drop hard soon, he thinks. Yeah, not financial advice, but I've been seeing a lot of clips on recession and what do people sell during recessions. They tend to sell risky assets. What does people still think are risky assets? BTC and ETH. So conventional thinking would say they're probably going to drop. If you watch and see, I'm actually been seeing like even on the Best Business show, some of the biggest bulls have been calling, for recession type stuff, even when they talk about crypto. So doesn't look good for them. Thankfully, HEX seems to be fairly decorrelated, and people are still buying stuff and waiting on their pulse bags. So it's gonna be interesting timing in the next month, like where we're headed financially on the global markets and the launch of PulseChain. It is going to be a volcano out there, which may or may not be in your favor. So, yeah, what do you think, SJ?
Yeah, I agree. I can only see things like HEX going up and PulseChain, and people who there are people who still have no clue about HEX or Pulse who complain about the Ethereum gas fees all the time, right? And I think as DeFi becomes a more well-known term and a well-known thing, it's just Bitcoin and people who hold it in centralized exchanges, like they're just going to start letting go of it and be like, oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't work the way it was intended. So I agree with that sentiment. No financial advice.
Absolutely. Great question. Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's been a great session. Next week we have whales. We have whales only on. I think on Tuesday we have them scheduled. So that should be fun. I think we're both excited about that. Yeah, sounds like we may get some chapters on Fix the World coming up from SJ. If she gets around to it in the next few weeks. Maybe the whole book in a couple months. We'll see. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, very exciting, very good conversation. Hey, we made it. So thanks for everyone. Thanks for sharing the link. Thanks for subscribe, all that stuff. SJ, it's been an amazing experience as always. I really appreciate it. You coming on the RHMax channel. And with that, we will say goodbye and play the outro.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.